Well, YouTube, we got a service member telling us her experiences, mostly when it comes to the male species and how she's lost faith. Let me just say straight up, I don't blame her because the opposite was happening to me when I was in the service. That's part of the reason why I got out. I was losing faith in the female species. And the reason why was because I saw too much, I heard too much, and it was a lot going on. Now I realize I speak in generalities. I'm not saying all, but all I'm saying is that the stories I could tell. So when I first saw this, I didn't blame her at all. I do think that there's a lot missing because obviously the male perspective different from the female perspective. But yeah, there's a lot that goes on. The military is not for the meek.
I am a woman in a military setting right now. I'm in the military. And I am, on some orders right now. And I am surrounded by only men. And let me just say this trip has completely changed my perspective on men and how I feel about them and how I've learned about them. Now, on the outside of a military setting, I'm just a normal person, right? I'm a nurse. I would say I'm average looking. In a military setting, amongst testosterone-driven men who don't see women or do not work with a lot of women, I am treated extremely differently here. And it has made me lose all faith in the male population. And I'm not even kidding. All of these men, okay, let's start here. There are some other women here. I'm not going to call them anything, but let's just say if a man does not find a woman attractive, I've learned that he does not fucking care anything about her. Doesn't want to talk to her, doesn't want to be near her. She could say something and he wouldn't even look her way. Okay? If he finds you attractive, different story, but even if he finds you attractive, he doesn't want to listen to you either. He just wants to talk to you and talk about himself, thinking that he's impressing you. And it's so obvious, and he doesn't know that it's so obvious. And it's such like a natural instinct that they do, and they just like, even if they're so book smart, it's like boom, their primal instincts kick in, and they just start talking about themselves and thinking that they're impressing you because they want to get in your pants, and it's like really unfortunate. And I knew this was all true before I came here, but I literally, when I tell you I see it every day, multiple times a day, it's making me lose a lot of hope. And
We're gonna delve a little bit deeper into that. A lot of what she said is not entirely wrong. When I guess the first thing I want to tackle is saying that I understand exactly where she's coming from. There are some spaces where there's a whole lot of men, especially in the military, where a lot of women don't really thrive that well. Then there's other spaces where that's the complete opposite. Now, I just want to open this up by saying that when it comes to how these men conduct themselves, I'm not giving an excuse, but what I am going to say is that a lot of them are young, a lot of them have never really interacted with women before, and if you talk to them, you can tell that they've never really been outside that house, especially how it is for the younger generation. I got out like a little while ago, but I started noticing, me and my boys started noticing a difference between a lot of these younger guys that were coming in and how they conducted themselves, especially around women and just in general. Nothing dangerous, it's just that they did not know how to interact with people and have conversation. So she's not off about that. 100% true. I also want to throw in there that when she's talking about how men treat women, especially, whether they're attractive or not attractive, 100% facts. There's this saying, in 29 Palms called desert goggles, and then in Okinawa called oki goggles, where the way you view someone, whether it's a man or woman, but it's mostly men viewing women, is that on the outside world, they wouldn't be someone you would look twice at. And we gotta be real about this. We gotta be honest. They wouldn't be someone you would look twice at. You would walk past and be like, But in those spaces where there's not a lot of women, and it's even worse yet in the Marine Corps. I can't speak for the other branches, but in the Marine Corps, especially in certain bases, 29 Palms and Okinawa, where the amount of women on the base in general is not a lot, and then outside, like in the general population, also not a lot. So what happens is that you have women, and she kind of touched on it a little bit, you have women that you wouldn't look twice at and are not very attractive, but because you've been there for so long and there's not many women there, they go up in scale. Now, there are cases, and I've been in one of those cases myself, where you're dealing with a chick that you will not talk to in the outside world, but because you've been in these areas for so long, you give it a chance. With that being said, these women, in some cases, know exactly what it is. They know this. A lot of them benefit off of it. I know this because I've talked to a lot of women. I've had like legit conversations with them, and I feel sorry for them at certain points. Why? Because I've had women openly admit to me and tell me, hey, look, me getting all this attention in the beginning was fine and all, but now it's like they treat me like an object, which is a true thing. My rebuttal to that was, and you could say it's heartless, but it is what it is. You can't expect to treat yourself and your body like an object for so long, and then all of a sudden want to jump out and say, okay, hey, look, you're not treating me with respect. The stories I can tell you, it's some shit that makes your stomach turn a little bit. For example, when I was in 29 Palms, right, that's when I just got in. I was doing my training in 29 Palms for like a year. There was this girl I was going to talk to. She wasn't all that. Don't judge me. We were going to do some things, you know. I was going to get myself set up. My boy, he came and told me, he's like, hey, bro, don't do it. You're going to mess it up for all of us because you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be focused on training. Next day and everything like that, I told her, hey, look, we can't move like that, X, Y, and Z. Look me in the face when I tell you this. She told me a story that if I didn't hear it myself from her own mouth, I would have never believed it. She's a girl. She was engaged during this time. So even when she was trying to mess with me, she was engaged. Told me how she wanted to be, you know, married. She loved this man, everything like that. She tells me how there was 2 guys in the room. One of them lived on the top bunk. The other one slept on the bottom bunk. She told me, now follow me. She told me that when she went into the room, she dealt with homeboy on the bottom bunk. They did their thing. She gets a text from a boy on the top bunk. He said, yo, come up. She said, oh, I don't know, I'm with so-and-so. He texts his friend on the bottom bunk, hey, yo, let her come up. She goes up there, she does her thing. When I tell you I was sick, I was sick. Stuff like that happens, and worse. I've seen women walk through the barracks, short shorts, ass cheeks hanging out. Because they're advertising. I'm not justifying how some men treat them. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm trying to do is set up the idea and understanding that there's a lot of women that take advantage of the fact that there's so many different men there that are not paying them attention when they never got that much attention. And then sometimes, not all the time, there's a switch and all of a sudden they go, you know what? I don't like being treated like this. Which is a fair statement. That's fair. Understandable. But you got to remember, you spent 2-3 years being a hoe. And I mean hoe. And then all of a sudden you switch and now you're looking for different treatment. And now there's no Captain Saber hoes. I met a few. Some of those women that I know, they out there married and doing their thing. You know what? No hate to them. But they was out here moving dirty. Let's continue.
Genuinely, I'm seeing different IQs, and it's giving primal alpha. Like, I don't know. Like, I just really didn't think it was like this, guys. I thought that there was hope, but I don't know. I don't know if there's hope. These men are cheating on their wives, cheating on their girlfriends. Every woman that walks by, they rate them. They talk about how they'd fuck them. Every single woman. And it's like, even the ones that think, like, you think, oh, he's a good guy, or like he doesn't talk about it. He's thinking it. And then he says it to his friends once they're out of, you know, a public situation. He'll say it to all of them. And you'll be like, oh my God, the one that I thought was actually a good guy. Even though he wouldn't physically cheat on his girlfriend, he's talking about other women. Just like guy culture. And it's mortifying. And I really don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's address the last part. And let me make something perfectly clear. If you think your man, your husband, whoever, doesn't look, I'm not saying ogle, I'm not saying fantasize, full-on fantasies about women and everything like that. That's not what I'm saying. If you think there's a man out there, whether he's in a relationship or not, doesn't look at a woman that's attractive and go, I don't know what he's thinking, because I know what I think. I just think, oh, she's fine. That's it. I don't go that far. There's some that do. There's some that don't. I can't speak for them. If you think men don't look and use their eyes and go, wow, she's cute, and then point out to their boy, because I've done it many times. I'm like, hey, yo, bro. Yo. That's normal. And to set it up as like a boys thing or whatever, a locker room talk, let me tell you something. Get close. If you think we don't know, I can't even say we, because a lot of men don't. If you think I don't know that y'all be ranking dudes in your phone when it comes to when y'all slept and smashed them, right? With little emojis and their numbers, don't play me. I've seen the list. If you think I haven't heard when y'all talk to each other and talk about who you X, Y, and Zing with, I'm not going to, justify and say that men are out here cheating. They all are. My faith in marriage and relationships went to an all-time low because the amount of cheating I've seen from both men and women. I've sat at tables in a group of friends, right, where everybody and their mother knows that wife is cheating on her husband sitting right next to her, and we just all keep our mouth shut. Because guess what? He knew too. I've seen women, right, And I'm not judging them. I'm just keeping it a buck. Married, 3 months in, 6 months later, divorce. 6 months later, married again. A year later, divorced. 6 months later, married a third time. Some of them stay, some of them get divorced again. I've seen that. I've heard how women talk amongst yourselves about men. I've heard it. I ain't gonna say nothing because I'm gonna out some people right now. But y'all know what I'm talking about. I've heard how some of y'all speak. Not saying her in particular. I'm not saying her. I heard women say some shit that made me go, damn you. I've heard women talk about how they was with this person this night, then 2 nights later with this person. Like I said, I'm not trying to put nobody's business out there, but all I'm gonna say is that I remember one time I was gonna mess with a chick. I didn't. We were just talking. I was like, you talking about all this game, you this, that, and the third. Like, how do I know? How do I know you got the skills? You want to know what she told me? She said, ask anybody. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, you know what I mean. Ask anybody in the barracks. Hand up to God, I promise you, she said that to me. I was turned off. I was like, ain't no way you literally just told me to ask dudes in the barracks. You moving like that? And that's not justifying it for the men either, because look, I've seen men in the military move in such a like dusty, disgusting way where I'm just like, bro. I've seen men get mad that the chick that they were trying to holler at wasn't hollering at them. All of a sudden they calling her names that she this, that, and the third. Boy, you was just trying to hit her up, and because she won't give you no play, you calling her a whore and everything like that. Get the fuck out of here. I could tell y'all some stories about how people move in the military. It's not just the men, it's the women too. That's why I had to leave. I was like, nah. And I always used to say, I was like, I can't date a girl that's in the Marines or just in the military, because when I say cheating, if you ever want to know, become friends with someone that works in admin, S1, people that work the gate, because they could tell you some stories too about how they see so-and-so driving in together. They got different last names, but you see them every day driving and holding hands. One got a ring, one doesn't. Or maybe both of them got the ring. She's not wrong, and I understand why she feels that way. You know how many times I had to counsel my male Marines because they got their heart broken because they was dealing with shit that they had no business dealing with? I knew a dude that was on I was on this security detail with, right? He came in late for his shift. Wanna know why? Dude was in the shower crying. Because his girl cheated on him. The whole culture is toxic. From the perspective of Marines, I can't speak for other branches. I don't know what goes on in other branches. Well, I know a little bit with the Army and then Navy a little bit as well. But for the Marines, no. Whole thing is toxic. I had to leave. That's part of the reason why I left, because I was like, I don't think I'll be able to find the person I want to be with, and God forbid she's a Marine, because I'm not dealing with that. I can only repeat it so many different times before like you guys understand how many stories I have in relation to how people just get down. And trust me, I used to watch it too. I used to stand in the back and watch how there's like 1 or 2 girls, and you just see a gaggle of dudes just surrounding them. What she doesn't tell you, and maybe she just doesn't know because she's never personally seen it, is that those girls eat that up. They do. Some of them get tired of it after a while. I've talked to a few, like I said earlier, that get tired of it. They say, hey, look, I don't know if some of these guys are my friends because they like me or they just want to get in my pants. I've had girls crying to me, telling me that they don't even know, like, I promise you I have. She's not wrong. But there's a whole different side to the story that she's missing out on. When I say I've almost lost faith in women when it comes to how they move, and I just was like, look, nah. She seems like a decent creator. She seems like she's really trying to cash in on like the whole, male species a terrible thing. Which, look, nothing against it. Get your audience in any which way you can. That's fine. You guys already know what it is, man. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. For those of my veterans or military members, let me know if I'm off, because there's 2 sides to every story. She's not wrong, and I'm not wrong. We both seen it. It's pretty bad. But that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.